I want to share with you a concern that I have with CIG's handling of a warning that was given to a fellow pirate, Captain Dirty from Chaos Squad. My subsequent post on Spectrum seeking clarification on where CIG stands on this. Captain Dirty was given a warning for excessive griefing from CIG's customer support service. However, I, Captain Dirty, and at least 186 other people believe that CIG were in the wrong here. The scenario that resulted in this warning is something that we all could encounter as pirates. Carrick boarding against a solo player who has a respawn point set to the medbed of the ship. We'll call this player Carrick Karen. As with every piracy attack, resistance is expected. However, what this Carrick Karen decided to do was refuse to take the loss when the pirate crew had taken positive control of the ship. What ensued was 30+ minutes of trying to negotiate with Carrick Karen, then having to suppress them since they refused any offers, defending their newly captured prize by killing good old Carrick Karen over and over again. Eventually, the Carrick's medbay was full of bodies from the suppression of this persistent player, and due to lag, Captain Dirty was eventually taken down by Carrick Karen. However, his crew continued to salvage the Carrick until it was stripped of all value and then handed back to the owner. If you wish to see the hit, then the link will be in the description of this video. I'll link it with a card at the top right hand side of the screen as well. A post was made on the Star Citizen Reddit with a screenshot showing PES in its glory with piles of Carrick Karen's bodies littering the Carrick's medbay. That post has over 2,000 upvotes. Also linked in the description of this video. However, Captain Dirty received an email from CIG shortly after warning him of excessive griefing and kindly asked that he refrain from this type of behavior going forward, informing him that future incidents could result in more severe penalties. Since the first email didn't tell him why he was getting the warning, he followed it up to confirm if it had to do with the medbay incident on the Carrick, which they confirmed and then shut down any further dialogue by stating that they consider the incident closed and may not respond to further inquiries. If you wish to learn more, Captain Dirty made a response video to the emails and the scenario explaining his side of the story. Link in the description and in the card in the top right corner. This is a re-upload since the original video had audio issues, and after seeing my Spectrum posts had been deleted, he had also decided to sanitize the email screenshots so as not to display the CIG customer service employee's name that he was speaking to, in case he was unintentionally violating CIG's terms of service again. When I found out that Captain Dirty received a warning from CIG, I was furious and very concerned. I had watched the video of the whole incident, and what I observed was a player who couldn't take a loss and was just doing whatever they could to disrupt the pirates from being able to profit from their captured prize. Considering the exposure that the screenshot had received on the Star Citizen Reddit, it is highly likely that CIG's customer service caught wind of what happened through some belligerent, militant, anti-PvP members of the Star Citizen community who made disingenuous claims against Captain Dirty and what happened, and CIG acted on it. If you watched the video of the hit, then you would be hard-pressed to disagree that CIG only acted on the screenshot, because it sure as hell looks like they didn't watch the video at all, which led to my Spectrum post. Comply or die. For gameplay doesn't work if you're going to give out warnings to players when they enforce the consequences of not complying, which I would link to you for you to read in your own time, except I can't because it was deleted from Spectrum because posting screenshots and videos that include the details of player support interactions and discussing those is against CIG's standard of conduct, as well as the unkind replies against staff members throughout the discussion. However, as a positive, they did say that they passed on this feedback towards their relevant teams. Fortunately, one of my members saved a copy of the HTML page and another was able to provide screenshots and videos of the replies to the post. There's personal information on the HTML page which I have omitted from the video here. However, I won't be sharing it outside of the video. What I will do is post screenshots of the OP and the video of the replies on Mongrel Squad's public guilded server for you to see for yourself, which contain the latest replies and statistics prior to my post being deleted. Once again, links in the description below. The crux of my Spectrum post was highlighting all of the evidence associated with the incident, providing counter-arguments to the accusation of excessive griefing against Captain Dirty by pointing out that Carrick Karen had other options that they could have explored to get out of the encounter, pointing out that CIG had now set a dangerous precedent with customer service could be manipulated to be weaponized against players now that they are given out a warning with an easy to replicate scenario. How their handling of the incident brings into question where future gameplay could be interpreted as excessive griefing due to the nature of it being disruptive, and then posing to CIG a question: when does an individual's responsibility for the gameplay cease to be their responsibility and become CIG's? Whilst there are a few detractors trying to push ridiculous counterpoints, the majority were in agreement that CIG had made a mistake with how they handled this incident, with many players offering in-game solutions to prevent this scenario from being possible again. I was never expecting a reply from CIG with regards to the question, but I felt compelled to bring this up, not only before CIG, but the community as well. Then the working week started for CIG and the thread was deleted, which is infuriating, disheartening, and concerning. I regularly check Spectrum to see what the community is talking about, if there's any new information, and also to voice my opinions, ideas, observations, and experiences. I've had threads locked, modified, and deleted before. I'm also one of the few people who has had a thread unlocked after a moderation review. But the reason why I feel infuriated, disheartened, and concerned is because to me the deletion reinforces a dangerous precedence where CIG isn't doing their due diligence when it comes to claims about excessive griefing. And if you try and bring it up in front of the community, they're going to shut you up. It's censorship. CIG, you've essentially said you can give us feedback, but it must be in the way that we want it to be given. If we don't like what you have to say, then we'll silence you. Well, that's not how feedback works. Not the type that encourages growth. That is a cold, corporate approach to handling customer dissatisfaction, far removed from the roots of where CIG came from, and that isn't the type of company that I want to support. Tumblr from Ramming Department made a similar thread after mine was deleted, broaching the topic of the term of service violation whilst carefully tiptoeing around ensuring not to mention customer service. It's also linked in the description. Head over there, have a read, comment if you want, and upvote if you agree. This entire situation had me reanalyzing my stance on CIG, Star Citizen, and doing content creation of myself and Mongrel Squad playing Star Citizen. I've always stated that there are two goals for Mongrel Squad when posting Star Citizen content: promote Mongrel Squad and promote piracy gameplay in Star Citizen. And I know we've been succeeding at both. We're not a huge channel, but we are growing, and I know our videos have inspired players to buy into Star Citizen so that they could raise the black and play the game as Space Pirate, even in its unfinished state. What CIG gets out of our videos doesn't correlate to what we get out of CIG. We paid to play their game, and they give us permission to show off their game and monetize the content. But if you read the terms of service, that can be revoked at any time. I was okay with this because I felt that our contributions would help achieve the vision to build the best damn space sim ever. I was okay with supporting the independent studio who was bucking the trend of chasing profit by not compromising and pushing the boundaries of what was possible for a video game. As I said before, CIG took a cold corporate approach to handling customer dissatisfaction, and I don't like where I'm seeing this going. For the better part of today, I've been wrestling with my conscience on what I should do next. I feel partially responsible because I encourage people to get out there and do piracy. Videos that we publish encourage people to buy into Star Citizen. I feel like what I've done is led them into a trap where they have no clue of what we can and can't do. And the best we can hope for is that we don't get banned playing the game as pirates. And I don't like that. CIG has stated piracy is something that you can do in this game. Never articulated what piracy entails beyond their Galactopedia post, but that doesn't explain how it's supposed to work in game. Everything you have seen us do on this channel has been from analysing what CIG has added to the game, theory crafting methods on how we can leverage what we have to pursue what we want, and an extensive testing and revisiting of ideas based on results. We didn't end up in the position we're in by accident. We worked our asses off to get to this point. Now it feels like the rug we're standing on is connected to a rope under tension, ready to be pulled out from under us if we do the wrong thing, irrespective if we knew it or not. All the while, CIG points at their game and says, you can do piracy in our game. And here I am making and releasing videos and telling others, come do piracy, it's great. Oblivious to the rope attached to that rug. I enjoy making our videos, sharing our stories, interacting with you all here, in-game and out. However, I was considering gating all of our content behind our public server and keeping it all internal. No paywall, just no advertisement for CIG either. Just so I wouldn't have this weight hanging over me. That content that I am making and distributing isn't putting players into a position where they give CIG their money and they get stitched up by CIG for doing something they didn't know was wrong. That wouldn't achieve anything. Star Citizen has turned into a behemoth, and the next lot of content creators would step up to fill the void that we would leave, and the cycle would continue. Instead, the idea is to maintain the course, continue growing, expand our influence, and not only continue to display piracy gameplay, but also raise our collective voices in the Star Citizen community when CIG does something that we don't like. There's a line in the message I received when they deleted my post. It's copy-paste because it's in the previous mod message about another deleted post I'd received. But this line reads, "While we hope to avoid doing so, should similar or repeated conduct be observed, more severe penalties may be applied to your account, leading up to a temporary suspension." The context for that line has to do with Spectrum posts for now. How long until it becomes the discussion of any moderation or customer service interaction anywhere? Could they enforce it? Well, just like Captain Dirty's incident with Carrick Karen and their medbed, only when they want to, using what evidence they could be bothered to collect. What could CIG do to help change my point of view of them now? This is hard for me to say because I'm the type of person who expects actions, not words, to show change. Right now, all CIG can do is offer words. And I know that their words have to be carefully chosen so they don't commit themselves to a course of action that they will have to do at a later date. But these are my suggestions. For in-game moderation, I think it behooves CIG to treat giving warnings and bans with a great deal more consideration to what they're acting on. Make the evidence of the incident known to the person who was being given the warning and give him a chance to offer a counter evidence. You can say you already do this, but what I've seen is the opposite. I'd also like to see CIG review and update their posts on excessive griefing and stream sniping. The game we have today is vastly different from when that post was written. For Spectrum, I'd like to see more consideration of keeping posts that have high upvote counts, 100 plus, and have modifications made to them by CIG moderation if they're in violation of the rules. If that's too much work, perhaps a sin bin for posts that give the opportunity to the OP to adjust them to be compliant with CIG's rules for posting on Spectrum. And I'd also like to see the word griefer given the same treatment as the word Care Bear by CIG moderation to breed a healthier environment for discussions on topics that some players are vehemently against. For in-game mechanics, I'd like to see mechanics that have the potential to be abused in a way that could result in a community member being put into position of being accused of breaking terms of service to be given a higher priority for being addressed by developers, i.e. infinite spawns on ship medbeds. And if they can't be addressed in the short term, communicate what constitutes abuse of that mechanic and what doesn't until the functionality in game lines up with your intent. These aren't demands, they're not expectations. They're nice to have, I think would go a long way to addressing the concerns that I and potentially many others have.